occurring in the state as close to 2 million people are currently homeless. He said the National Emergency Management Agency cannot afford to wait any longer as the state is already overwhelmed. Kogi State government says it is in dire need of assistance at the moment as the flood disaster has devastated over 200 communities, already been submerged while about 2 million people displaced. 9 out of the 21 local government areas of the state are affected. However, about 68 IDP camps have been opened by the state government, but they can't hold the massive population as schools, hospitals and other infrastructure have been destroyed completely. Though no life was lost as early warning was sounded. Therefore, Kogi State government is calling on the federal government, international donor agencies, NGOs and philanthropists to come to their aid. Kogi, Lokoja, Adavi of Hajakuta, Ida, Ibaji are some of the affected local government areas. The Ministry of Steel Development is planning a one-month boot camp training for youth to empower them with advanced technical skills in welding and fabrication, equipment support for business growth, including job creation and sustainable livelihood. Those eligible are the ones between ages 18 and 40. Interested applicants should log on to the ministry's website on www.msd.gov.ng. Application closes on the 30th of October 2024. Minister of State Development Ubame Geri Amadu was in the studio earlier to speak on this.
Inform this initiative.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Nigerians. What really informed this is our drive as a ministry to make contributions towards nation building. We all know that no nation actually develops industrially without first of all taking care of its steel sector. And having said that, we at the ministry conceived, in fact, this is directly off my desk, we conceived this idea of a program to basically train Nigerian youths, artisanal welders, those who have already started learning the trade and those who are interested in learning the trade of welding. And we are focusing now on 1,000. We actually planned to take 10,000 young people, but of course we have competing demands and budgetary constraints. That's why we ended up with 1,000, and eventually we are only able to take in 700 on this stretch. What we intend to do is to assemble them in Onitsha. You probably have heard about the Metallurgical Training Institute, MTI, a specialist school that was set up during the Shagari regime, basically to train middle cadre professionals to service the steel sector. We intend to assemble them and train them like you rightly said in the forerunner, in metal fabrication, systems and control, instrumentation, foundries, mechanical maintenance and issues like that.
Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited, NICOMSAT, is determined to provide connectivity to the 774 local government areas across Nigeria. This is in addition to leveraging the enormous African continent by positioning itself as the preferred option. Jane Nkechi Gete Dehe, MD, CEO, NICOMSAT Limited, rolled out transformative measures in place for successful attainment on Good Morning Nigeria. Lydia Sampson reports.
On assumption of office 1 year ago, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer NICOMSAT Limited focused on repositioning service delivery, ensuring reliable infrastructure and continuous technology update to position the organization one of its kind for global competition.
It's just clear that commercially it's not always viable for these players to go to the rural areas. You know, if not, they would have solved this problem. They've been around now for 20 years, and we thought satellite is not needed. They would have solved it, but it's not viable to put a base station in a village with 50 people, and you want to make the amount of that base station in 3 years. So it's becoming clear you have to find other alternatives.
With the existing satellite, like any other having a lifespan, robust collaboration with key players for a win-win digital joint venture and public-private partnership, the guests say will be prioritized.
There's what we call nutrient mapping. Take, for example, you want to have a high yield on your farm, there's a need for you to understand what kind of, take for example, the soil structure you need to use in terms of what kind of fertilizer, what are the deficiencies in the soil. Do you have enough nutrient in the soil? So there are probes that talks to this, and those content, the information from that probe can be backhauled to a central location where it can be analyzed. So at the end of the year, you'll be able to determine the yield, because like we know what we are going to in the country in terms of ensuring that we have enough food to go around the country. So
what we've done differently after that now, we've done the cellular backhaul, which we've introduced a lot of partners now who are carrying traffic for rural areas. And we've been able to compete favorably in the industry, all that. We're also doing a lot what the military is, what we call COTM, sell on the move.
Okay.
Now, we're doing that again to also help the military in some key locations where where microwave and fiber could be a challenge at that point.
With a paradigm shift in education, agriculture and health, NICOMSAT deploying satellites for access, data analysis will be game-changing. The guests are emphatic that NICOMSAT offers limitless opportunities for digital economic diversification. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, Nta News.
In another development, the 30th Nigerian Economic Summit is exploring practical solutions that can bridge the digital gap and create a truly inclusive digital economy by focusing on access, inclusion and shared benefits. Tope Alabi reports that stakeholders through conversations around digital inclusion and closing the accessibility gap.
Technology is transforming the world, with global digital economy worth $11.5 trillion, about 15.5% of world's overall GDP. With a population close to 200 million people, Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa, and one of its largest e-commerce markets could create jobs and capture a bigger share of the digital economy. NESG believes by enabling the public and private sectors to innovate and invest in digital skills, platforms, financial services, entrepreneurship and infrastructure, Nigeria can build the blocks of a thriving digital economy.
To advise government on the key action items that can be done to deliver and unlock potential for penetration of access to broadband.
It enables everybody to be able to see how we can descale all this risk, and then we can get better.
And so, talking in very concrete terms, should public sector be helping with de-risking finance so that private sector can be involved?
With 60 million Nigerians having no access to a formal bank account, stakeholders want the use of technology and policies to help the country close the accessibility gap.
It has yielded a lot of brilliant ideas, but all those ideas need to be fine-tuned.
Is to come up with draft policy documents that can be passed on to the state and federal governments for adoption.
That we carry along our fellow citizens down to the grassroots, irrespective of where you're from or your level of education.
Make sure that persons with disability, their contexts are captured.
The Nigerian Economic Summit Group is that they were established basically to drive things like this forward. And I have confidence in the organization that they're going to be able to take the recommendations that were raised by all of these stakeholders here.
While NESG seeks policies on digital inclusion and investments to be embedded in national priorities for a greater access and affordability, the conversation believes there should be a collective moral imperative to invest in each person's capacity for growth and opportunity. In Abuja, Tope Alabi, Nta News.
Developing a comprehensive approach to alleviate food scarcity and agriculture financing through practical solutions requires collaborative efforts for growth, competitiveness and stability. This is the concession of discussants on strengthening the food system session at the ongoing 30th edition of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group in Abuja. Bosade Abel Amosu reports.
This interactive segment is centered on innovative and practical solutions from experts, researchers, policymakers, and stakeholders, addressing the pressing challenge that Nigeria is facing in order to ensure food security and sustainable agricultural development. Panelists stress on contributions that analyze the root causes of the crisis and propose viable strategies to enhance the resilience of Nigeria's food systems.
Crises and target threats.
Insufficient agricultural financing, incentives to promote low-cost local production of key farm inputs, among many other challenges, are said to be hampering the agricultural sector.
Beyond just food systems, we also had to look at the quality of the food and the nutritious components of it, especially for young children. So what are we doing? What regulations are in place to say this food must meet certain quality standards before it's rolled out in the market?
So if you're going to build a food security accountability framework, first it's important to know who is supposed to do what, when and how. And when you have those kind of structures in place, it makes cost of a lot of items, especially mechanization, a lot cheaper.
With food inflation at 37.52% in August 2024, it is hoped that existing institutional framework are implemented to address food crisis in the country. In Abuja, Bosede Eibun Amosu, Nta News.
Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has been in the forefront of championing the cause of women and the youth on many issues ranging from economic empowerment, inclusion in education and improved healthcare services. The 79th United Nations General Assembly that just ended in New York offered her another opportunity to seek partnerships, support and grants that will improve the lives of women and youth.
Nigeria is open to assistance in that area. It's something I believe that we really, really want to do so that we can have school enrollment up.
Odyssey of a Soul, a 25-minute special program on this mission, comes up on the network service of the NTA tonight, Tuesday, 14th October 2024. This is the news desk at 6. Let's take a break now. More reports when we return. Thanks for being there. The World Bank has pledged to commit an additional $500 million to institutionalize the federal government's care support program for the vulnerable and poor across Nigeria. National Coordinator of the program, Dr. Abdulkarim Obaje, at a peer learning and experience sharing event in Port Harcourt, says an estimated 9.2 million Nigerians have so far benefited from the program in the last 3 years. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
Nigeria Community Action for Resilience and Economic Stimulus NG Care program is a federal government and World Bank intervention program targeted at reducing the impact of COVID-19. It was subsequently extended to addressing issues affecting the poor and vulnerable members of the society.
Our success is built on leveraging on successes of past government, federal government World Bank assisted interventions such as SCTO, National Cash Transfer, LIPW, under ESO, CSDP, our own beloved CSDP, National Fadama program, of course, and BOI JIP intervention. Before the $500 million that we're expecting on the additional financing comes, our promising the World Bank that with that $500 million, we are going to produce result worth $1 billion.
The Nigerian Governors Forum is also a strategic partner in the implementation of the program.
Over the course of these zonal events, we have seen firsthand the innovative approaches being adopted across the states, addressing critical issues such as poverty alleviation, healthcare, education, and economic transformation. The national PLE is fast approaching, and it presents yet another opportunity to deepen our engagement and explore new areas for collaboration.
3 years down the line, the World Bank is delighted with efforts to alleviate poverty in the country. This is why it is willing to vote additional $500 million for its institutionalization in Nigeria.
The government has requested that the program should not close in December 2024 and that the program should continue. The World Bank management has agreed to that the program will be extended. The World Bank will continue to support it. An additional $500 million has been agreed as a base. The bank is looking at the possibility of another support for the next 3 years, but in a way that will institutionalize this process.
Out of the $750 million voted for the program from 2021 to 2024, the NG Cares says $645 million has been disbursed to 9.2 million beneficiaries across 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, Nta News.
The 2024 Africa Climate Forum is underway in Abuja. Charles Alpha reports that this year's summit is focusing on how Africa can explore and build resilience, tap into its immense renewable energy potential, and forge new partnerships that prioritize both sustainable development and climate action.
No doubt has the potential to combat climate issues, but certainly not without some challenges. What this two-day climate forum aims at achieving is how African countries can utilize the unique opportunity to transform from being a continent that bears the disproportionate burden of climate impacts to one that leads in climate solutions and innovation.
So what this forum basically is all about is how to galvanize African leaders to be able to look inward and see how can they pull resources together to develop their own climate action plans.
We've always sort of gone to these international conferences and go there more like we're begging for help, but it's time for Africa to rise.
The International Big Cat Alliance, Nigeria is part of it. We need to preserve the fauna to ensure that the ecosystem survives and the nature survives.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, in a message to the forum, tasked leaders to take bold and decisive climate actions that will secure a just and greener future.
Together we can chart a path towards sustainable development and harmonious coexistence with our environment. As we gather here today to address the future, let us remember the stakes are high and the time for decisive action is now.
The theme of this year's conference is Africa's Climate Future, Pathways from Dependence to Developing its Own Energy and Climate Financing Suitable for its Peculiar Problems. Charles Alpha, Nta News.
$30 trillion of investment and hundreds of job opportunities are the expectations from the Global African Investment Summit scheduled to hold in some parts of the country, including Abuja, the FCT. Parts of the activities lined up for the event are to show support for the international gathering in honor of the Africans in Diaspora AU and a meeting of government officials in Nigeria to promote the dual citizenship initiative under reparative justice and hold preliminary discussions on business opportunities in Nigeria.
Nigeria and our president to make history and write Nigeria's name in gold in the world records for being the first to use presidential exclusive rights to grant citizenship waiver to the African descendants. It is time for Nigeria to rise as the giant of Africa, to take their place in the leadership of Africa and embrace the Africans in Diaspora 6 region as their own.
Nigerians in the diaspora are over 20 million in number. We have over 18 million that we call the modern diaspora. And many, due to new technology of DNA, are tracing their roots back to Nigeria, back to their local governments, and back to their roots. This is the first of its kind, and after this, let me assure you, we are going to institutionalize this event.
This is a policy decision of the African Union, and all member countries are enjoined to implement these protocols and declarations by the African Union.
The historic African diaspora are indigenous Africans whose ancestors were forcefully carried away into slavery over 500 years ago and who are dispersed in Europe, North America, South America, Caribbean, and the Oceania, and are now ready to return home to stay and invest in their homeland, Nigeria. The Chief of Army Staff has inaugurated a Nigerian Army Forward Operating Base in Egbe, Kogi State, aimed at strengthening security ties between Kogi, Ekiti and Kwara States. Ajibola Christopher reports that the facility was donated by Senator Sunday Karimi, who represents Kogi West Senatorial District at the National Assembly. The report is presented from our studios.
The rise in banditry, kidnapping and armed robbery along the highways and forests bordering Kogi, Ekiti and Kwara states prompted the construction of the Forward Operating Base in Egbe, Yagba West local government area. The facility was donated by Senator Sunday Karimi, representing Kogi West Senatorial District. It features 2 hostel blocks with 92 furnace rooms, a central kitchen, an administrative block, commander's quarters, officers' mess, mini cells, CCTV and Wi-Fi for enhanced communication.
The main objective of this project is to ensure security of lives and properties of our people. This will not only serve Egbe, as we've said, even the military men said it, is going to serve the entire Kogi.
During an inspection, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja, represented by Major General Obina Onubogu, thanked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his leadership in safeguarding the nation. He reaffirmed the Army's commitment to tackling security challenges, particularly in Kogi State, while upholding the Constitution. The Chief of Army Staff commended Senator Karimi for his support and assured that the base will be used for its intended purpose of protecting lives and property in the region.
In particular, this Forward Operating Base will support our efforts at stopping and deterring bandits, criminals, gun runners, and other criminals who operate along the forests and rivers adjoining Kogi and Kwara states. To this end, I want to assure the distinguished senator and the good people of Egbe and Kogi state that this facility will be used for the purpose for which it was constructed.
He urged the troops to remain vigilant against emerging threats. Goodwill messages from leaders also praised the initiative as a milestone for Yagba land.
Now, CAF begins investigation into the Super Eagles inhuman treatment incident at the Libyan airport. Brad Egochu reports that reactions from different quarters condemned Libyan airport authority to the dehumanizing treatment.
The Nigerian Super Eagles and their officials are returning home from Libya after the Libyan government denied the Nigerian mission access to the team for over 16 hours following their arrival. Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tuga stated that the Libyan authorities have not yet allowed the Nigerian mission to reach the location where the Super Eagles are being held. Reports indicate that the Super Eagles chartered flight was redirected from its intended destination as it began its descent into Libya, following instructions from the Libyan government. Upon landing at a location chosen by the Libyan authorities, the players and officials were left in an abandoned airport for more than 14 hours without any provisions. Meanwhile, Minister of Sports Development John Eno condemned the actions of Libyan authorities who detained the Nigerian Super Eagles and their officials at Al Abrak Airport. The minister expressed serious concern over the team's poor treatment, especially considering their presence in Libya for an international event. He assured Nigerians that the Ministry of Sports Development is collaborating with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other relevant stakeholders to ensure the team's prompt and safe return to Nigeria. The minister urged Libyan authorities to uphold international sports relations and respect the rights of athletes traveling for official events.
I've also put it to CAF that there must be
an adverse consequence, upon the Libyan Football Federation, and you cannot achieve that consequence by insisting that the match goes ahead. I mean, otherwise you create a very dangerous precedent, and then football, that is regarded as a unifier, and all that, will no longer be a game of football anymore.
In a related development, sports enthusiasts in Abuja have actually added their voice and condemned the action.
This is football. Yes, we know that sometimes you play antics to win, but this is way beyond the usual football antics or the dark arts which it is called in modern day football. It is way beyond what should be, and I think this should be addressed thoroughly by CAF.
It depends on what the rule books say. The thing is, if a replay is ordered, I expect that the game should be taken away from Libya.
Additionally, Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen expressed his strong support for his teammate and called for intervention from the Confederation of African Football (CAF) after the team faced mistreatment upon arrival in Libya. Osimhen took to social media to denounce the treatment as uncalled for and inhumane, stirring further concern and calls for action as the Super Eagles withdraw from the AFCON qualifier under such difficult circumstances. For Sports Update, Bright Ebuchu, NTA News.
And just before we go, reports reaching us has it that the Super Eagles have landed at the Kano airport. And that concludes the news desk at 6 on NTA News 24. Thanks for watching. I am Olajide Bello.